Sugar. You've been eating it since before you could walk. It's in your birthday cake, your healthy yogurt, your sports drink, your salad dressing, and the bread you had for lunch. It is the most consumed psychoactive substance on the planet, and almost nobody treats it that way. This is every single thing sugar does to your body. Some of it you've heard. Most of it you haven't. None of it will make you feel good about that coffee you just had. Dopamine hijack. The first thing sugar does isn't metabolic. It's neurological. The moment sweetness hits your tongue, your brain fires dopamine, the same chemical released by cocaine. Not a similar chemical. The same one. Same reward pathway. Same escalating tolerance. Same craving loop. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a line of cocaine and a can of soda. It just knows it wants more. Sugar has been rewiring human brains for millennia. Ancient humans craved sweetness because ripe fruit meant calories and calories meant survival. That craving was a feature, not a bug. Evolution built it in to keep you alive. The problem is evolution didn't account for a world where you could pour pure extracted glucose into a 600 milliliters bottle and call it a juice cleanse. Sugar triggers the nucleus accumbens, the brain's reward center, to flood with dopamine. Do it repeatedly and the receptors downregulate. They shrink. They become less sensitive. So you need more sugar to feel the same hit. This is the clinical definition of tolerance. It happens with heroin. It happens with gambling. It happens with the granola bar you eat every morning because it has oats. Brain scans of people shown images of sugary food show activation patterns nearly identical to those of drug addicts shown images of their substance. The food industry has known this since the 1980s. They optimized for it. They hired neuroscientists to find the bliss point, the exact sugar concentration that maximizes craving without triggering fullness. Your addiction wasn't an accident. It was engineered. Over 8 million scientific papers have been published on sugar and addiction. The industry funded studies concluding fat was the enemy. It wasn't fat. Blood sugars spike. You eat something sweet. Glucose floods your blood. Your pancreas panics. It fires insulin, the hormone responsible for escorting glucose out of the blood and into your cells. Blood sugar rises. Insulin surges. Blood sugar crashes. You feel tired, irritable, foggy, and inexplicably hungry again within 90 minutes. This is not weakness. This is chemistry. Frederick Banting discovered insulin in 1921 and saved millions of diabetic lives. What nobody anticipated was that the general population would spend the next 100 years voluntarily torturing their own insulin systems 3 times a day. Every time your blood sugar spikes sharply, your blood vessels take damage. Not metaphorical damage. Literal microscopic tears in the endothelial lining of your arteries. Insulin, secreted in massive repeated doses, stops being effective. Your cells develop resistance. They stop listening to insulin's signal. The pancreas compensates by producing even more. Until it can't. This is type 2 diabetes. It doesn't appear overnight. It is built quietly over years of ordinary meals. Blood sugar crashes cause cortisol release. Your body interprets the crash as a low-grade emergency, similar to mild starvation, and floods you with stress hormones to compensate. So the afternoon slump you treat with another coffee and a biscuit is actually a cortisol spike dressed up as tiredness. You are stress eating to recover from the stress caused by eating. The loop is perfect. The loop is invisible. Around 537 million adults worldwide are living with diabetes. The majority have type 2. Type 2 is largely preventable. The sugar industry spent 40 years making sure you blamed yourself instead of the product. Liver overload. Fructose, the other half of table sugar, the sweet half, can only be processed by the liver. Unlike glucose, which gets distributed to muscles and organs across the body, fructose is the liver's exclusive problem. Every gram of fructose you consume goes directly there. And the liver has a limited capacity to handle it before things go wrong. Rates of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease began rising in populations that barely drank alcohol. Researchers were confused. Then they looked at fructose consumption patterns. Then they were not confused anymore. The liver converts excess fructose into fat. That fat either gets shipped out into the bloodstream as triglycerides, raising cardiovascular risk, or it stays in the liver itself. Accumulated liver fat causes inflammation. Inflammation causes scarring. Scarring is cirrhosis. Cirrhosis is liver failure. The pathway from daily soda consumption to liver failure is not theoretical. It is documented, step by step, in peer-reviewed literature. High fructose corn syrup delivers fructose faster and in higher concentrations than your liver evolved to handle. Your liver processing a can of soda and a drunk person's liver processing cheap vodka are executing the same metabolic sequence. The liver cannot tell the difference between alcohol-derived acetaldehyde and fructose overload. Both cause fatty liver. One of them is sold to children in lunchbox-sized cartons. About 1 billion people worldwide have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Most of them have never been told their diet caused it. Inflammation engine. Sugar is one of the most potent pro-inflammatory substances a human being can consume regularly. Not acutely, you won't feel it the day it happens. Chronically. Quietly. Over months and years of consistent intake, excess sugar shifts your entire immune system into a state of low-grade permanent activation. Your body behaves as if it is under constant mild attack. Because biochemically, it is. Roman physician Celsus described inflammation's 4 hallmarks: heat, redness, swelling, pain, in the 1st century AD. What took another 2,000 years to understand was that inflammation can exist systemically, invisibly, without any obvious wound to point at. Chronic inflammation damages arterial walls, accelerating atherosclerosis. It disrupts insulin signaling, worsening metabolic syndrome. It activates inflammatory markers like CRP and IL-6 that are independently associated with increased cancer risk. It crosses the blood-brain barrier and triggers neuroinflammation, linked to depression, cognitive decline, and dementia. Sugar doesn't just make you fat. It makes your entire body hostile to itself. Advanced glycation end products, AGEs, are compounds formed when sugar molecules bond to proteins or fats in your body. Your body cannot break them down efficiently. They accumulate in tissues. They stiffen arteries, cloud the lens of your eye, damage kidneys. And they are now considered a primary driver of biological aging. Every time you spike your blood sugar, you are literally accelerating the speed at which your body ages at the cellular level. The skincare industry sells you collagen. The food industry destroys it from the inside. Chronic inflammation is now considered a root mechanism in heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, and type 2 diabetes, the 4 leading causes of death in the developed world. They are not separate diseases. They are 4 exits on the same highway. Brain fog and mental collapse. The brain consumes 20% of the body's total energy and runs primarily on glucose. Surely then sugar is brain fuel. This is one of the most successfully perpetuated myths in nutritional history. Countries with the highest sugar consumption showed the highest rates of depression. Researchers initially assumed correlation. The more they looked, the more they found mechanism. Sugar impairs BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, the protein responsible for growing new neurons and maintaining existing neural connections. Low BDNF is found in virtually every major psychiatric condition. It impairs hippocampal neurogenesis, the brain's ability to grow new memory cells. It causes the same dopamine receptor downregulation that makes depression harder to treat. A high-sugar diet doesn't just affect your mood. It structurally compromises the organ you use to think, remember, and feel. The gut-brain axis, the direct biochemical communication line between your intestinal microbiome and your central nervous system, is profoundly disrupted by sugar. Sugar feeds pathogenic bacteria in the gut, crowds out beneficial strains, and increases gut permeability. Bacterial metabolites then cross into the bloodstream, trigger systemic inflammation, and directly affect neurotransmitter production. Roughly 90% of your body's serotonin is produced in the gut. The gut sugar destroys. So sugar is not just making you foggy. It is dismantling the factory that produces your happiness. People on high-sugar diets are 25 to 35% more likely to develop depression than those on low-sugar diets. This statistic is not on the side of your cereal box. You've just survived 10 minutes on sugar. 5 systems. 5 different mechanisms of damage. One substance that is in nearly every processed product on the market, subsidized by governments, and defended by an industry that spent half a century making sure the science stayed buried. The takeaway is not that you should never eat sugar again. The takeaway is that you have been making choices inside a system designed to make sure you never fully understood what you were choosing. Your brain was hijacked. Your liver was quietly overworked. Your arteries took damage you couldn't feel. Your gut microbiome was reshaped. And your mood, the thing you thought was just you, was partly a chemical consequence of breakfast. Now you know.